That's enough smiling, you don't have to smile anymore.
For 16 years, I was a normal, everyday girl dealing with all things life could throw at me. But one day, it all changed. Now every day is a challenge.
She'd got a whole life ahead of her, and to me, her life had ended.
Hi, my name's Ella and I have type 1 diabetes.
When people think of diabetes, they think obesity. However, that's not my condition. I have type 1 diabetes and rely on injecting insulin to survive.
When I was 16 years old, I started getting symptoms of diabetes. My mum used to be a nurse, so she picked up on the symptoms and took me to the doctors. And they told me my blood sugar was 17, and it was meant to be, on average, it's meant to be about 6, 7. So that's when they sent me to the hospital, and yeah, I was in there overnight, and it sort of really just happened really quickly.
So the first symptoms that Ella had to do with anything to do with diabetes was she went on a school trip to Berlin, I think it was, and she was messaging me to say she'd got symptoms of thrush, which I didn't really think anything of until you look up the symptoms of thrush. And it's very unusual for a girl of 15, 16 to get it. And the only reason I ever had any thought was because Matt's mum had been diagnosed with type 1 when she was 55. Yeah, late onset. So it did run in the family, so there was a chance that one of our children or even you could have got it. We were in, I don't know, a clothes shop. She was trying some clothes on, and she literally flew out of the changing room 100 miles an hour and said, I need the toilet, I need the toilet, I've got to run to the toilet. And that was when a bit of a penny dropped, and I thought, that's another symptom of diabetes. I didn't tell her because, to be fair, I didn't want to bring myself to think that that's what it could be.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease, so there's nothing anybody can do to prevent it happening. It's the body's reaction where normally it would fight infections or illness, and it actually destroys the cells that produce insulin in the pancreas. So it makes it that the body doesn't produce its own insulin anymore and therefore needs insulin to treat it. Insulin is a hormone produced by the beta cells in the pancreas. And normally the body will release it in response to food, but also it's released constantly to keep the blood glucose levels steady in somebody without diabetes.
So this is my insulin bag. I take this with me everywhere. It's got everything I need inside of it. So this is my fast-acting insulin, which basically means that it acts fast. So when I eat, I take this. So I'll work out how many carbs are in a meal.
That's 25.
And then I will take, for every 10 grams of carbs, I'll take 1 unit. I normally inject in my stomach area just because it's got a little bit more fat on it than, say, my leg area. Because if you don't inject it into like fatty tissue, it's going to hurt you a lot more. So when I inject into my legs, I normally bruise and bleed, so I just don't do it, and it's a lot more convenient because your stomach seems to always be available. I've also got this insulin, it's called Toujeo, which is a background insulin. So this means that I take this once every night. So basically this keeps my blood sugar at a reasonable level throughout the day. And without this, it would be sky high, and it would be very hard to control it with this. I've also got a blood sugar monitoring machine, which is that, and then this is what you use to prick your finger with when you test your blood sugar. So all you need to do with that is, I've got these testing strips here. They're just little testing strips, and you just put it in the machine, and then you put your finger on the end of it once you've pricked it, and then it just comes up on the screen what unit your blood sugar's at. Apart from that, that's everything.
Today I am meeting my nan for a coffee. She also has type 1 diabetes.
As long as I'm doing it discreetly, I feel like it's okay to do it in public, just because then it's more convenient for me. So if I'm like sitting with all my friends eating, then I don't have to like go away from the table and come back and make a big fuss. I can just do it under the table and hopefully no one will say anything.
Well, I tend to go into the ladies. I do very occasionally, if I'm on an aircraft or I need to do it. I will do it discreetly, but usually I'll go to the cloakroom and do it there.
Yeah.
And then I always test my blood sugar before I inject.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do that as well.
Yeah. We're doing it so we can live, basically. It's not like we got a choice. So I don't feel like, in my opinion, I don't feel like anyone really has the right to say you can't. As long as, like I say, as long as you're not flaunting it about. Because people might be afraid of needles or whatever, but then, you know, we don't have a choice, so.
So where do you inject? On your stomach?
Yeah, or around my stomach.
I do, and you've got to rotate the sites, don't you?
It's interesting to hear how my nan deals with her diabetes, as I've only known my own ways of coping.
As a career, I want to do performing, so I want to be like a freelance performer and do singing, dancing and acting, and mainly want to do musical theatre. I've been dancing since I was about 5 years old. I've been doing tap since I was 7. I started ballet a little bit after that, about 5 years ago, I'd say. But I'm really engaged in dancing and singing, and I always have been. I've always wanted to do it since I was little. Like, I've always sung and danced.
Ella Holmes, the 2003 Freestyle Dance Under 5s winner. Thank you very much, Butlins champion!
So, for people with diabetes, controlling their blood glucose is vital, and having poor long-term control can lead to lots of complications. Particular problems with the eyes and a disease called retinopathy, where there's damage to the blood vessels at the back of the eye, and left untreated that can lead to blindness. There's also problems, can be problems with the blood supply, particularly to the feet and hands, but more importantly to the feet, and problems with nerve damage as well, and can be a leading cause of amputation in people with diabetes.
My lifestyle is quite active. I do a lot of dance, like I say. I also go to work, so I work in a pub. It's really hard, actually. I'm finding it really difficult at the minute because where I work, it's very busy and we haven't got that many staff on at once. So say if I need to eat, it's quite difficult for me to sit down and actually eat my food, which does make it difficult because everyone else can eat whilst they're working, so they can take like a bite every 10 minutes if they wanted to. But I think the people that I work with need to understand a bit more that when I eat, I inject my insulin for what I'm going to eat. So if I injected my insulin and then didn't eat what I was going to eat, then that insulin would just send my blood sugar low because there's nothing to contradict it. I do go to the gym. It is quite active, and I try and go to the gym quite a lot because if I didn't, it would sort of affect my diabetes, because it does help with your control if you are active, if you go to the gym. And also, if I can go to the gym and not have to inject myself for the meal I have before the gym, then that's also a plus.
So of course, the most difficult part is to understand things when it goes wrong. So you need to be able to know if she falls into a coma or goes unconscious or collapses. We need to know how to deal with it.
But you have to keep doing it, otherwise, because it's not something which, well, you'd hope you'd not have to do at all, but even if you did, it would be very, very rare that you did it. So you have to keep reminding yourself and ask Ella, what is it again that I do if this happens? And almost she tests you every so often, which I think is what you need to do. So you're prepared for it if it does happen.
She still dances. She still eats what she wants. She still goes out drinking with her friends. She's got boyfriends. She's just a normal girl.
I have taken control of my diabetes and I don't let it control me. Although my disease is life-changing, it's not the end of the world. My life didn't end with diabetes. A new chapter has just begun.